think the next question is Mary Bruce, ABC.
Thank you, Mr. President. You recently launched your re-election campaign. You've said questions about your age are legitimate, and your response is always, just watch me. But the country is watching, and recent polling shows that 70% of Americans, including a majority of Democrats, believe you shouldn't run again. What do you say to them? What do you say to those Americans who are watching and aren't convinced? You've said you can beat Trump again. Do you think you're the only one?
I may not be the only one, but I know him well, and I know the danger he presents to our democracy, and we've been down this road before. And with regard to age, you know, and polling data, I noticed the polling data I keep hearing about is that I'm between 42 and 46% favorable rating, et cetera. And but everybody running for re-election in this time has been in the same position. There's nothing new about that. You're making it sound like Biden's really underwater. Number one. Number two, when the same polling data asks whether they think what kind of job I've done, it gets overwhelmingly positive results. From 58% thinking everything from the CHIPS Act and all the things we've done. You know, we've created, like I said, we've created 12 million new jobs. We've created 800,000 manufacturing jobs. We have economic growth moving. We're in a situation where the climate, we've invested more money and more help in dealing with the climate crisis than any nation in the world. And so things are moving. And the reason I'm running again is there's a job to finish. The other thing is that, look, you know, think about what I inherited when I got elected. I inherited a nation in overwhelming debt at the time, number one, in the hole for the 4 years that he was president. I inherited a nation that had a serious loss of credibility around the world as America first. And, you know, the first meeting I attended the G7, I said, America's back. And one of the world leaders looked and said, for how long? For how long? There was a great concern about the United States being able to lead the free world. And we're doing that again. And those same polls you look at, you take a look at the polls, they're saying whether I pull together NATO and the European Union as well as Asian partners, I think we have. But there's more to do. And with regard to age, I can't even say, I guess how old I am, I can't even say the number. It doesn't register with me. And but the only thing I can say is that one of the things that people are going to find out is they're going to see a race and they're going to judge whether or not I have it or don't have it. I respect them taking a hard look at it. I take a hard look at it as well. I took a hard look at it before I decided to run. And I feel good. I feel excited about the prospects. And I think we're on the verge of really turning the corner in a way we haven't in a long time. I know you're tired of hearing me say we're at an inflection point. Well, we really are. What happens in the next 2, 3, 4 years is going to determine what the next 3, 4 decades look like. And I have never been more optimistic in my life about the possibilities of the United States.
To be clear, though, you just said, I know him well. Did Donald Trump's decision to run affect yours? Would you be running if he wasn't?
Yeah, I think I still would be running if he wasn't. I do know him well. He's not hard to know, as you know. You know him well, too. The question is whether or not, look, there's more to finish the job. We have an opportunity to put ourselves in a position where we are economically and politically secure for a long time. Look, we continue to have, and now you don't like me hear me saying it, there's still a contest between autocracies and democracies. And we're the leading democracy in the world. And it's something I know a fair amount about, something I care about, and something that I have found a willingness of an awful lot of our allies and friends to follow. So I think that, you know, we have to finish the job, nail it down. Was it?
You need to repeat the question. The mic was not used. We cannot interpret.
They need to repeat the question.
Please use the microphone. We cannot provide interpretation if you do not use the microphone.
Microphone. That
My
kind right
apologies.
still on
Thank
the
you.
microphone.
Did the recent leaks revealing that the U.S. was spying on South Korea come up at all in your discussions? And did President Biden provide you any assurances?
네, 지금 뭐 한미 간에
With regard to that, we are communicating between our two countries and we are sharing necessary information. I believe that investigation is underway in the United States. So various and complex variables are always in play. We need time to wait for the investigation results by the United States, and we plan to continue to communicate on the matter.
This will be the last question.
예, 질문해 주셔서 감사합니다.
I'm from Financial News. My name is Kim Hak-jae. My question goes to both of you. My first one goes to President Yoon first. During the state visit, you've said that the alliance has strengthened to cutting-edge industries, to cutting-edge science, and also investments in businesses have been some of the outcomes. These are some positives. However, to each individual of the public, how will this have a long-term impact? What will be the direct benefits felt? And to President Biden. In celebration of the 70th anniversary of the Iraq-U.S. alliance, I know that the atmosphere is really positive. However, Korean businesses, especially because of the CHIPS Act and the IRA, are on edge. What message can you send to the Korean companies to really make sure and tell them that this is not something to worry about? The technology cooperation between the ROK and the U.S. and also in partnerships in cutting-edge industries and science and technology was your first question. So that is about really strengthening the competitiveness of our two countries. And it will enhance the productivity and create added value, high added value. These are the types of products that are going to be produced. And from the perspective of the public, for each individual, in that process, they will reap the benefits wide and comprehensive that will stem from these industries and investments in these industries, for example, from job creation as well. And above all, the future generations will be given the determination and will to take on new challenges and embrace opportunities in our industry so that they can continue to prosper and grow and become more abundant in the future.
The reassurance is that it's overwhelmingly in our interest for Korea to do well. No, it is. It's very much in America's interest that Korea do well in the Pacific, very well, because they are one of our most valued partners. And so I think the combination of growing democracies and the democratic institutions as well as their economies is overwhelming in the benefit of the United States, whether it is in South Korea or it's in Australia in the deep South Pacific. And so I think that there's a reason, overwhelming reason. Plus, in addition to that, we're increasing the number of student exchanges, access to more information between our folks, educating our people, as well as we're going to be cooperating in everything from space to technology to medicine. And so there's so many opportunities we have. And I don't think at least we don't, and I don't think so far, most of the South Korean companies believe that there's somehow a U.S. effort to slow them down, prevent their growth, or anything like that. We'd like to see them grow. And I mean that sincerely. It's overwhelming in the U.S. interest for South Korea to do very well economically. It's overwhelming in our interest because it has. And then lastly, I think we underestimate the example that South Korea sets. Here you have a nation that is significant, but is not a nation of 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 people making the kind of changes it's making. It gives other smaller nations hope to believe that if they have democratic institutions and commitment and impact on industries that in fact are the cutting edge industries, the new sciences and technology, including AI and other things, that there's a future for them. And I think that's what this is about. And so we view South Korea's economic growth as a benefit to the United States as well as freedom around the world. Thank you all so very much.